You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Hi, I'm Davey.
And I'm Jake.
And we are
the Bargain Bin Gamers.
Hooray!
I got it right this time.
You did get it right. Well done. Let's see if you get this next part right. This is the podcast YouTube show, and we have a Twitch channel but never use it, where we put the gay in gaming.
While not hurting your hip pocket.
Close enough. Close enough. Well done. Well done. I'm proud of you.
Whilst not hurting
Whilst looking after your hip pocket.
I'll get there.
You will. But, it's the commitment that really kind of gets me. And the fact that you're here helping out today, by the way, as guest co-host, welcome.
Thank you.
Good to be back.
Yeah, it's been a few pods.
Has been a few pods.
Yeah.
It's fourth appearance on the pod. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Actually, technically, that's 2 episodes today. So there you go.
Yeah. And
racking them up.
Yeah. And here with us again because Mitch is like, I'd have to take a leave without pay. I'm like, oh. Where is his commitment? Is what I say. But anyway, before we begin, I would just like to give a big shout out to all of our BQN podcast network patrons, especially to this show's associate producer, Sam Johnson. Sam, thank you so much for your continued financial contribution towards the network and to all of our patrons for helping out financially. And remember, if you would like to help keep this and other BQN podcasts coming to you every single week and picking up all kinds of exclusive perks, you can become a patron for as little as $1 over at patreon.com/BQN. Got that out of the way.
I'm glad you remembered it all.
I've said it enough times. The only bit Mitch does in that is the /BQN.
Oh,
that's the only bit he can remember.
That's all right. I'll get a cheat sheet for next time.
You will. So what's been happening? What's been happening with you lately?
I just finished playing, I've nearly finished playing Outer Wilds, which is a space puzzle adventure.
Nice.
And unfortunately, it's one of those games you can't really talk about too much because you then end up spoiling it for other people because it's a knowledge-based game. But
okay.
I thoroughly enjoed it.
All right.
And
free plug for Outer Wilds. Get out there and download it if you want to know more.
It was great, though. It was a few of my friends wanted to watch me play it because I think it's one of those games that once you finish it yourself, the only way you can really experience it again is to watch someone else enjoy it and figure out how they do it. So yeah, you're nodding because I assume you know Outer Wilds. Oh no, okay.
No,
I was hoping.
Just agreeing with the concepts that you're saying. Yeah. Well, across from us, and as you've done, you've brought in the guest
again. I did it again
as you did in the last episode. That's fine. We're a very professional outfit here. Sitting across the table from us today is the fabulous Triana Butler. Hello, Triana. Welcome to the show.
Hello, David. Hello, Jake. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to have you.
Welcome.
You've got a lot going on, by the way. When Jake and I were having a little chat at the pub over the road before we came to the podcast, and looked you up and said, "Oh wow, they have quite the portfolio." I mean, even just I've got your Insta profile open here.
Which one?
Yeah, exactly. There were a couple, but so I'm looking at the Triana Butler one.
Oh, yeah.
Energy Doesn't Lie, trans broadcaster from The Sound of Now on Melbourne or Australia's Fabulous Joy. Zentai model, witch, gaming, and esports. So, there's a lot there.
There's a bit there. There's only so many characters that you can fit inside a little Instagram bio, though. You know what I mean?
There is. Is there anything missing from that?
Well, there's the other one. I mean, it linked to my my gaming and esports Instagram account, which is separate because I think my regular friends got sick of me yapping about various video games and esports tournaments that are going on. So anytime that I'm talking about gaming and esports, there's Triana OCE, which is off over to the side just for the real dedicated ones, just for the heads who want to hear about the esports and the gaming.
It's almost like the close friends thing for
kind of, yeah. But it's this weird thing where you kind of have to be public with it because otherwise, how do you connect with people?
True. Yeah. It's like having a dedicated Instagram profile for the podcast, right?
Exactly.
Like I could do it all on my personal one, but everyone would get the shits of me. What does the OCE stand for?
So that's our region. So Oceania is our region, and so shortens to OCE.
Nice. Now, esports is one of the things that really drew me to you in terms of something that I don't know the first thing about. But actually, I came across you. Funnily enough, when I did come across you, I'm like, and I heard your voice, I'm like, I've heard this voice before. It's from Joy. But you did something with was it the Frosty Games Fest recently?
Yes. So Frosty Games Fest, if you're familiar with Summer Games Fest, which is the big US-led Jeff Keighley machine where they're telling everyone about the new games to come over the next kind of 6 to 12 months. And Australia and New Zealand were always left out. And so some particularly enterprising locals said, hey, why don't we do our own one and call it a Frosty Games Fest? And I, loving the incredible creativity that comes out of our game industry, sent them an email pretty early on to say, hey, if you have my sword/bow/axe, whatever you need. And they were like, hey, why don't you come on and co-host a segment of the broadcast? So I was very lucky to be able to do that.
How was that?
It was good fun. So I was able to pre-record it in advance, and I was introducing a game that is out of Aotearoa, New Zealand, which is a rugby game. It's a rugby sports RPG, I think is the genre of it. And so we went and shot it out the front of Amy Park in Melbourne, which is where quite a bit of the rugby is played. So it was good fun to be able to be there and look like I was reporting on location. Yeah. It was all very fancy.
In situ.
Exactly.
Did you choose that game?
It was just like, here's the one you're introducing, off you go. And I was like, well, here we go then. Rubbing my hands together.
The Frosty Games Fest was really, really cool. And mainly because we saw a couple of the developers that we've actually had on this show. Including the Key Fairy, and
that was so good. Good.
and the team behind Burger Boys as well. I don't know if you've seen that one.
Yeah, I got to see them very briefly at PAX last year. They were out on the show floor, and it was very much a highlight. They had weren't all of their crew there in like aprons, like they just stepped out of a burger truck?
And they were giving away like little like takeaway bags that had little like bits of merch and swag.
I didn't get a little takeaway bag. Hi, Burger Boy. Reach out to me.
Yeah, exactly. Get back over here.
This year.
Yeah. Well, we're trying to get one of them to come to Gamers because one lives in Melbourne, one lives in New Zealand. But there you go. There you go. Well, that's exciting. Yeah, Frosty Game Fest kind of came out of nowhere for me. I was like, one day, like my Instagram feed was being flooded with it. And then I'm like, oh my God, Burger Boys. Oh my God, Key Fairy. And it was big. There was a lot of games showcased in that.
It was a solid hour-long broadcast. And there were all hits, no misses. It was just banger after banger after banger. And I'm sitting there watching, and I knew exactly one game that was coming. And I'm like, wow, I'm going to wish list that. I'm going to have to wish list that. I'm going to have to wish list that. My wish list is now far too long.
I think, everyone's wish list has blown the budget, that's for sure.
When you follow the indie scene, I think it's both a blessing and a curse because you're constantly like, here's all these things I'm looking forward to. These fabulous independent developers who are doing it in their own time who might release it this year, they might release it in 5 years, but I just hope I'll still support them anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So Frosty Games Fest was a really exciting moment for the Australian games industry, and hopefully, I think it came through with funding from Creative Victoria, Creative Australia. So hopefully, it comes back. Screen someone.
Screen Australia or screen something.
So whoever you are in charge of the funding, help them out for 2026. You heard me.
Yeah, exactly. Get behind the arts, Victoria. Well, I mean, Victoria usually does.
Yeah, if there's any place to do it.
Yeah,
aside from maybe South Australia, I think don't they have a bit more in the festival?
Well, Key Fairy are in Queensland, and so Tex and Niosis, they have gotten a lot of funding from the Queensland government for Key Fairy, and from the federal government as well for different grants. I mean, that's kind of the good thing is there are a lot of at random kind of these different like arts grants provided that provided a lot of funding to these developers, which is cool.
Nice. Glad it's going to good use.
Yeah, exactly.
But let's dive into one of your other big passions, which is one of the things I really wanted to unpack with you today was esports. So what is it that you do in the world of esports? What can you tell us about that?
I've been lucky to do a whole bunch of different things across loosely a career in esports.
Mm-hmm. It was quite a repertoire on your profile on the website. I was quite impressed.
It's quite a bit there. Yeah. So I was lucky to, when we had the LCO in Australia, which was the League of Legends Circuit Oceania, I was one of the Twitch moderators. So I was there from the start of every broadcast to the end of every broadcast. I know every possible slur that could be dropped in chat to time out. I know every possible sneaky reference to gambling that is not allowed.
Gamba.
Not allowed. So, I was looking after that. One of the moderators as part of a team for a number of years. I was lucky to work at every DreamHack that ran in Australia, and I'm very sad that it's not coming back. That was brilliant. I was working as a player manager at each of those as part of the LCO. So random lore, which I don't think I've ever dropped or shared before, but every team who competes at the finals is assigned a player manager. If they need something, please go to your player manager and we kind of look after it. And every single team that was assigned to me as a player manager went on to win the championship. So I feel like close to greatness.
Yeah.
Incredibly. I mean, people who play sports are very superstitious usually. So are you the good luck charm?
They're all different teams. Who would know? but you know, esports teams, if you'd like a good luck charm, I'm available.
Because I was wondering, I was like, so moderator, I was like, are you like an esports commentator? Like, is that kind of a thing?
So I for a little while did esports casting is what they would call it. I'm, you know, the kind of footage that you see of like, and Faker's on the back line. He's got 2. He's got 3. He's going to take it for a quadra kill. It is a quadra kill for Penta. Can he make it a penta kill? He's got to chase down Canyon. He does, and it's a penta kill. Like, I don't do that.
Wow,
that's not my energy. That's not the thing that I do.
That's like high octane.
You could have fooled me with that. That just came out of nowhere, very naturally.
I did for very, very early on. I was casting Rocket League for what was called Flak Test Youth Esports, which was a school-based esports inter-school sports tournament, essentially. And that was only for like a year or so. And I hope there's no VODs out there. It was quite average.
So has esports made it to inter-school sports?
Yeah, for them it was. Yeah, absolutely. I know there's universities that have esports teams. I know RMIT University here in Melbourne, of course, everyone who comes out of RMIT, the team is the Redbacks. So they have a Redbacks esports team alongside their I don't know, football team. And
it's definitely a growing industry. So it should be bigger and better every year.
To a point. It's tricky. Like there was, in the mid-2010s, there was a lot of like venture capital funding that came into the scene quite globally.
Yeah, okay.
And then slowly that venture capital funding trickled out and a lot of teams had not built the financial awareness to how to manage a business. And
it's a different skill set. Yeah.
It's a very different skill set to, clicking heads in a video game. And so, yeah, that's been tricky for some teams who are sadly no longer with us. But it's been a journey.
Well, speaking of, I mean, you talked about some of the work that you've done there, but what actually drew you into it? Was it just that you did that first experience moderating? You're like, I love this. Like, are you a competitive person yourself? Like, what drew you to esports?
I didn't know specifically. I had a feeling you were going to ask something about this, and I was like, why? Where did I get my start? And I went and looked through. I brought in some relics from the past, and I found.
Twice. We've had so many props come into the studio today.
I didn't realize that I still had these, but these are my entrant passes to be a competitor in the Pokemon Video Game Championships Nationals 2015.
Oh, Mitch, I'm so sorry you weren't here for this one. Mitch would die.
And there's my 2016 pass as well, and I suppose we can hold them up to the camera at some point.
Hello.
There you go. There's that one. There's the 2016 one as well.
That's so cool. We'll have to take a photo for those that listen to the audio podcast.
Now, I was like out first day. I was terrible at both of them, right? But suddenly discovering that, people do this competitively and it's a thing that people enjoy doing. I was like, wow, I didn't realize that this was a thing. And as I kind of got more into the gaming scene over a number of years, 2019, they put out the call for people to come along and be crew at Melbourne Esports Open. So this is my first awareness of like actually working on an event, like my crew pass.
Oh, that logo reminds me
MEO.
so much of
that reminds me of the Melbourne Gamers logo so much.
So there's my crew pass from MEO. We only did one. I think they were going to do one again in 2020, but obviously
not. Yep.
Things didn't happen there. So that was kind of how I got my start in each of them.
Where was that held?
So MEO was at what's it called? Melbourne Olympic Park.
Oh.
So it was before they had built out the centerpiece space. There was like a What was it? It was the John Cain Arena was part of it. It was in Rod Laver Arena. It was at a few of those different venues across that big space.
Awesome. That's a big space for an inaugural event.
Yeah.
Do you ever get involved in any of the stuff they do at like Fortress or anything like that? Because we've been talking a lot about that on the show, like just the very interesting space and cool space that Fortress has become.
Yeah, I love the team at Fortress. I've been really lucky to work with them. I got to host there back when they were just coming out of COVID, because they launched and then a week later, everybody went into lockdown for COVID. And that was like, that's the start of your business. Good luck.
Yeah.
It's
amazing they survived.
Yeah, they pivoted hard for a couple months and did really well. And then when they were coming out of COVID, they did what they were calling the Fortress House Cup, which was like, come along and just, it's like your school sport competition. And yeah, you're in the yellow team and you're in the blue team and come in.
School houses.
Yeah, like school houses. Yeah. And so I was host for the arena for several of those events. Rocket League again. And then also I think Street Fighter maybe. There are a couple different games.
You know, what are some of the like games or gaming communities in esports that you've personally found to be the most welcoming, the most opening, or just the most fun to be around?
It's interesting. Like, I feel like a lot of people come into esports. I mean, esports, I guess the opposite of it is traditional sports, right? And people who are into traditional sports and are into football don't necessarily also go along to AFL matches and don't go along to soccer matches. I think for esports, there's generally kind of two kinds of people. There are people who are, I really love Counter-Strike and I go to everything that's Counter-Strike and I follow all of Counter-Strike and that's my zone and they don't know anything about anything else. And then there are people who are just like, yeah, no, I don't mind watching Counter-Strike. Oh, yeah, I'll watch some League of Legends. Oh, Rocket League looks fun. And they just kind of are involved across it more broadly, which is what I try to do.
You're a floater. You float.
I'm a floater, but I mean, as a broadcaster and as someone who's a host and prefers to do interviewing, I'm actually less interested in the questions like, oh, so how did you execute that play perfectly and how did you hit the QWE to execute whatever it was? I'm actually much more interested in the way the players think and behave.
Yeah, well, that's the universal component.
And my feeling is that is what brings in the new fans who are maybe not necessarily across the game, but they just see it and they go, wow, this is such a spectacle. I love this.
Yeah.
So that's my interest, is less one specific game. And when you're looking at communities that are running these events, they generally are very inclusive because they just look for the best people. They're not looking for people who are going to come in and be extraordinarily offensive or racist or sexist. Like, that actually serves the product poorly.
Yeah. And what do you think is that, like, what is it about the spectacle that does bring people in? And the reason why I'm interested in asking this, so the other day I was lining up to get a coffee, two straight guys in suits standing behind me, right? And they were talking about Twitch. And I go, oh, I don't get it. People sitting around watching each other play video games.
You literally do that on the weekend watching the football.
Yeah.
Exactly the same thing.
But yeah, there was just that very typical like straight man attitude of just like, well, I don't get it, so therefore why should it be a thing? And
back at you.
And I was literally sitting here, well, I mean, I don't necessarily get it either, but I'm intensely curious, so I'm bringing someone onto my podcast to help explain it to me. So what is it that draws the crowds in?
So I think for some people, they're really into, let's say it's a particular game, I don't know, League of Legends, and they're the kind of people who will get home from work and they will lock into solo queue and they will play until midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., the real DGen hours, right? And so for them, watching esports is a way of kind of going, okay, I see how they did that play. I haven't tried doing that before in my games. I wonder if I could try that. I wonder if that would change my... So there are people who genuinely watch to try and get better. There are some people who I just watch it. I'm like, I'm never going to be this good, but I'm just going to soak in how good these players are.
Yeah, you get to live vicariously through these super talented gamers.
Exactly. And I think there's also, in the same way that people will have a particular sports team, that I know you two are based in Melbourne, so you probably got a AFL team that you say you support.
I have one in my pocket in case I need to.
Yeah, to further a conversation. So who's the team that you say you support?
Bulldogs.
Yeah, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, actually, funnily enough, so my fiance is footy obsessed.
You got no chance.
Yeah, so I have an Essendon membership, and I go to every game every week.
But even so, because you're a fan of Essendon, but by force, but you have to be. But you kind of are aware of what's happening with Essendon, the men's team and the women's team, and kind of across what they're doing.
I know who they are. I know the dramas that are going on because Anthony watches Not only does he watch the games,
the talk shows.
Yeah, we watch the games from like Thursday to Sunday, and then we've got to watch like AFL 360 and all the talk shows that talk about all the games that we just watched. And I'm like, how is that any different from me gaming and then watching endless YouTube?
I think you need to alternate weekends, or during off season, do you get to do all gaming stuff?
Well, fortunately, he's a school teacher and he does tutoring on Sundays, and that's when I do all my gaming stuff. But anyway, we went on a tangent there.
Yeah, no, the tangent is kind of the same. Like, if you're locked into that Essendon football ecosystem, there are people who are fans of, I don't know, in the US, FlyQuest or Team Liquid, or over in the UK, something like Fnatic or T1 over in Korea, and they just have their team that they're a fan of, and they will watch T1 when they play League of Legends, and they will watch T1 when they play Valorant, and they will watch the T1 women's team when they play Valorant, and they'll just watch their team, and they're dedicated to their team. So it kind of works very similarly to traditional sports, but I think people who, I'm going to be real, like, sometimes when you don't quite get the football and you just go, yeah, they're kicking the football really good. But if you're into gaming,
I'm cheering,
you get it,
and
right?
it's gone to the wrong goal.
You've got that kind of shared awareness and that shared community. Yeah, we just love this game.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing.
I think it's like why Twitch and stuff is so successful, because people love, especially the chat, and they love being there as part of the community with their creator, basically.
That terrifies people who work in broadcasting, though. So I'm very lucky to work in radio, and when I explain to people, they're like, oh, what's Twitch? We're having these same conversations. And it's like, okay, so imagine you were just doing your show as you normally do, but then alongside your show, there is a chat box, and everyone who is watching and listening can say whatever the heck they want at any given moment. And you can see it as you're doing what you do. And they panic. They're like, that's the worst idea ever. I would hate to see the unwashed thoughts of everybody coming in.
Yeah.
But that's what Twitch is. And just Twitch streamers have this ability to see the chat coming in and interact with it.
Yeah, I'm always impressed when they can, they're reading it with one eye and still playing a game. And I'm like, I don't know how you do it. Maybe just good moderators.
And it's funny because traditional broadcasting, I mean, outside of radio, which is live, like TV and stuff like that, they do not do live content other than the news anymore. There used to be so many things, like all the reality shows like Big Brother, Australian Idol, they're all live. Too many problematic things happen. They're like, all right.
Is that where they had the tweets coming along the bottom of the screen and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Q&A.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing that'll piss off the advertisers, pretty much. I can very much imagine how, people who've made a career in traditional broadcasting would just freak out at the concept of that. But hey, that's why there's moderators. Now, the other thing I was really interested in exploring with you is your experience as a queer person in this scene as well. Funnily enough, so the person we interviewed before you, we were talking about esports with him, and he had a perception of a bro culture around it. And we're like, well, that's really funny because it's I think we're hoping to break that perception with our next interview. So tell us a little bit about that. What is your experience as a queer person in this? And I'm guessing there must be amazing queer safe spaces and connections in esports.
So it's a very multi-layered question you've just asked there, Dave.
Yes.
It's bold, and I don't know how long we've got left to go, but we're going to try and get through it all.
Let's do it.
So there is the bro culture is there, yes, and that's, how can I explain this? Have you seen that movie Air Bud?
Not since I was a kid.
But but you know that where the dog is playing basketball, there's a scene where the referee is flicking through the rule book, and he's like, well, there's nothing in here that says a dog can't play basketball. Therefore, I'm going to let the dog on the team. And it's this silly, movie. But the point stands that there is no specific rule in esports that says every team must have 5 men on it playing, right? That is not a rule. It's not segregated by gender. So theoretically, it has the capacity to be the most inclusive because people don't need to be divided into men's leagues and women's leagues. However, as a result of, if you've ever played online and you've seen some of the, and this may not be the case for you perhaps as I'm assuming cis men, pardon me to assume, but you may not have experienced that kind of thing of turning on your microphone and you don't sound like a man and then everyone goes, oh, kick them, ban them, get back to the kitchen. That is just the immediate thing, and that it happens for women and gender non-conforming people game after game after game after game after game after game after game. And then you go to bed and then you come back and you play the next day and it happens all over again. And you just don't get to get good at the game because you're just being abused because of your gender or your sexuality. So that bro culture then extends to the top teams in some cases, because in some cases the players will go, oh, we don't want a woman on the team because that might throw the vibes, and we like our little bro gaming culture.
Esports is like this chance to like reinvent these norms and change what would be the norms from sport, physical sport, and try and build something new.
And so there are efforts to counter that. So particularly in Valorant seems to be the most prominent one at the moment. There's a tournament in Valorant called Valorant Game Changers, which is specifically for women and expansive genders is the term that they use. And so you just have to not be a man to qualify for that league. And so because of that, when you're playing in an actual tournament, if you get told you suck, you're not getting told you suck because you're a woman. You're getting told you suck because you messed that play up and you're actually learning something valuable. And if you get told, hey, that was really, really good, well, it's because you've done something really great and you're finally getting this feedback. And we're seeing slowly some of these people who are competing in Game Changers, who the bigger teams are taking notice and they're going, oh, actually, I reckon you'd do okay. I reckon we could sign you. And we had a bit of a false start earlier in the year with one player who left the team, and there's some controversy around that, not from the team's end, from the player's end. But increasingly, we're seeing these players come through Game Changers, prove themselves as being excellent at the game and getting the attention of the bigger teams. And we just had this player I mentioned earlier who got signed to one of the tier 1 teams over in Europe, a team called Apex. And it was the first time a woman or gender non-conforming person had ever been signed to a tier 1 league in that sport.
Mm-hmm.
The first time.
Wow.
Right? And so as culture begins to shift, and it's tricky in the US at the moment, obviously I understand things are a little different over there and culture is shifting in a certain direction.
Yeah.
But certainly, it's beneficial for the companies who are running the games, because they don't want to market a game to 49.9% of the population. They want to be able to market a game.
It's in their best interest to be as broad as possible.
Exactly. They want to market a game to 100% of the population. And when you look at, Pokemon is a great example, right? There is no gender split. The split is juniors, which I think is under 12 or under 13. Seniors, which is under 18, so 13 to 18.
Oh, senior at 18.
And then masters, which is why this has M on it. M for masters, not M for male. So if you're in the masters, you're playing with the other adults, and that's how they split it up based on ability, because obviously there are so many young people who want to play. And we had a situation earlier in the year with one of the tournaments for Pokemon where the final 2 were brother and sister in the seniors, right? So in this like the 12 to 18 group, and their brother and sister, they were both dressed. Their mum had dressed them both like Team Rocket, which is just gorgeous. And so they're there on stage, like playing the games and competing, and one of them's got the trophy and one got the second place. And it was this beautiful family affair. And I cannot think of any other sport where something like that happens. Yeah. So gaming has this ability to be expansive, but it's just a case of the culture itself shifting to a point where actually it doesn't matter what your gender is. And once we get to a point where we see those players really excel, people like Miss Harvey over in the US, so in Canada rather, she was a legendary like CS player and got to the point where she was such a well-known celebrity, she went into the Celebrity Big Brother house in Canada.
Wow.
Just because she's like a streamer and she played games, and she was a part of, I think it was CLG that she was playing with. She's now with FlyQuest. But yeah, she went into the Celebrity Big Brother house and won the show. So she's well, I'll just add that to my championship trophy case alongside all the other trophies that I won. And, so people like Miss Harvey are real leaders in it, right? Where people can see her and go, well, if she can do it, and if there are leagues open that I can compete in, of course I can do the same thing.
Are there particular publishers, or, I guess it could come from the publisher or maybe different parts of the gaming industry, but are there particular publishers, say, that are better at doing this versus others?
Look, it depends on the initiative. So the games I've mentioned most so far seem to be League of Legends and Valorant, and they're both run by Riot. And Riot have had, the Arcane series on Netflix was massive, right? And it wasn't just among the men who play League of Legends, right? It was amongst a whole bunch of people. And there were people who watched that series and went, wow, and that's from this game League of Legends? I'm going to go install it and check that out. So there are communities, there are developers who know that being diverse is deliberately good for their bottom line, even if they can't necessarily say that in the US right now. You look at Blizzard, who are working on Overwatch, and they have like Pride season is June in the game at the same time each year, and the New York City streets have like pride flags all over them, and you can get pride like name banners in game so that when your name comes
I've
up,
got mine set to pride.
yeah,
which again was that whole like, oh, do I do it or is it gonna instigate something? And I was like, you know what? If it does, it does.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Putting my foot down.
Well done.
and so I think
My friends are just like, do not turn on the chat.
Just keep your microphone muted.
Yeah.
But then the way around that is to only play with your friends.
Yeah.
And if you had like a 5-stack or a 6-stack together.
It's good when you've only got 5 people on a team because like you pretty much can find like maybe 5 friends to pull together and maybe you have one ring in kind of thing and yeah, it works out quite well.
Yeah. So if you are part of a team environment where you all want to scrim together, you all want to play together and practice, then the abuse is fine. It's just a case of finding those people who want to do that, people who've stuck around.
Yeah.
It's tricky.
I tend to find these days I'll mostly just jump onto a Discord with my fellow queers who we want to play so that way it's just us.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can't really...
I think Discord's made a massive dent. No, a good dent.
Yeah.
a massive shift in the how people do that.
Yeah, and I wonder what your thoughts on that are too in terms of some of the other services like Discords and even Twitch and streaming, because they seem to be like queer communities in gaming seem to be thriving on those. How have they made a difference for queer people wanting to enter this space?
Well, I did want to touch on, just before we get to that, because we've been talking a lot about team games, but there are also solo games like Super Smash Brothers. So many people who are in the upper echelons of Super Smash Brothers tournaments are trans or are women because they don't have to have a teammate to rely on. So they can just go and play on their own and just solo it and just barge their way through. And so for Discord, to answer that question, you've got these communities where people are like, yeah, we're the queer Smash community and we're chucking a queer Smash tournament and it's online and it's just a fun little thing on a Friday night. And it may not necessarily be for money. It might not be something that people are, winning big for, but it is their first taste at competitive. It's their first taste at actually having a go. And they go, oh, actually, I do really like this.
I couldn't deal with the adrenaline.
Really?
Oh, I don't think so.
But are there not games that you play that you go, yeah, like I want an adrenaline rush out of this?
I think Overwatch is as far as I get. And I'm like, even that, by the end of it, I'm just like, my anxiety's through the roof.
Well, you rode a horse in Port Douglas the other day, and you like bonded with it, and you were like,
really?
you're on it.
That was different. That was me getting to experience my solo game of being Link in Zelda, riding through a field. So that was a solo.
He was literally riding around with like, dun, 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 dun. Which honors same.
And the horse's name was Ash, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's like Pokemon reference."
No, you're going to say its name was Epona. I was going to lose my mind.
I would have lost my mind, but we just got randomly assigned horses, and it was Ash. And I was like, "Okay, first gaming reference, Pokemon."
No, it happens in the strangest of places. On sort of to round this particular topic off, though, what advice do you have for queer people who want to enter into esports or want to get involved in some way?
I mean, look, involved is so broad, right? Like if we're looking at traditional sports, you can get involved in whichever club you like by being part of their active fan group and going and cheering them on the weekend. Or you can, if you're at the age where you're coming up into the AFL, AFLW, you could go and practice and play at your local team and get in the draft and get drafted. Now, obviously, that's a much higher level. So you might instead play in your local team and you play in the Rezzies and you Division 2 or 3 or whatever it is. And maybe work your way up. Or maybe you just love being in that smaller local league where you hang out on a Saturday and kick 3 goals and then go and have a drink with your mates in the club rooms afterwards. And that's the extent of it. And it's the same with esports. Like you don't have to necessarily be competing at your first tournament ever is competing at an S-tier tournament, right?
Yeah.
Like you could just be someone who enjoys the community of being at a queer tournament or an online tournament, being part of a group online that is just a fan club for your favorite esports team. There's a lot of discussion around the K-popification of fandom. And this idea that there are people who are fans of a team and they're going to create like cute fan art of their favorite players and they're going to do like team cheers when they go along to cheer for them. And all of them are valid, it's not like you have to be a player competing at the highest level to be part of it. You could come and help run the things, the people who are behind the scenes who are running these things. First of all, the gender split feels like almost 50-50, right? And some of the people, and I'll shout out in particular, like Aisling, who is one of the people who was tournament manager for, I think, the LCO, I think has also worked in Counter-Strike. I don't know how she does it, but she is in charge of like everything that is happening. She has to issue commands to the players. She has to let broadcast know, okay, the game is starting now. She's in charge of all of it and she sees everything and she's aware of all these moving parts. That's a game in itself.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what kind of
level.
Such
a meta game.
Yeah, you've got to know like what all the players are doing and then go, okay, camera operators get ready to cut to them. Like, I don't know how she does it. She's actually incredible. So there are people who just operate at that level.
Yeah.
Who says that can't be you?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it sounds like, I mean, I don't want to say like the barrier of entry is low, but like it sounds like there are many opportunities just to which you can get into at any level.
Well, you mentioned Fortress, right?
Yeah.
So Fortress are going to have local grassroots casual tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, can I come along and just help out? Can I help organize the thing? I've never done it before and I want the experience.
Yeah, just walk up to someone there and say, hey, how can I get involved?
Yeah, exactly.
What can I do?
And who knows? It may lead to you going, okay, well, that was fun for a little while, but now I'm going to set up my own tournament and it becomes its own thing. Or it might get to a point where they're like, hey, all that great work you've been doing with that? We would love to offer you a job doing this because we have this tournament coming up. Or it might be something that you see another game that is coming up, like Marvel Rivals is coming through at the moment. And you've got all this experience in other games and you decide you really love Marvel Rivals and they're looking for someone who can, I don't know, do something on broadcast or behind the scenes of broadcast. And you go, well, I've got all this experience doing these. Could that help? Yes, absolutely. And suddenly you're in. Do you know what I mean? So there's just so many different ways to get involved. In the game, behind the scenes, as a fan, it's...
You don't have to be an expert at the game or a professional at the game necessarily to start.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome. And were you on Joy before, working as a broadcaster before you got started in this space?
Yes. Yeah. I've been a broadcaster since my teens. I started out at a station called SYN in Melbourne. I went to Radio Training Institute, RIP. And graduated with high distinction. And they were like, actually, do you want to stick around and be like a talent development lead to help all the rest of the students as they come through? And so I then worked there and then I was on air on Melbourne's KISS 101.1 for a while. I'm currently on air on 8 different radio stations around Victoria and New South Wales on the ACE radio network. So, and that's every Saturday and Sunday, and you can hear me, yapping between the songs. And so having that kind of background of broadcasts, keeping things going, telling a story has, I think, served me quite well in what I do in gaming and esports because I can take the same kind of principles and apply it in a way that someone who was very, very new to it in esports might not have the awareness to.
Oh, that's so cool and amazing to hear all these worlds that have kind of collided for you. I guess sort of, to wrap us up, where can people follow along on your journey and just, again, any final piece of advice that you've got for our listeners and viewers?
Look, final advice to get involved is, I think, just, pick something that you're interested in and follow what interests you. There's a bunch of incredible games out there. Marvel Rivals, you might be really into Overwatch. You might have you might play, I don't know, Dota, right? If there is
StarCraft 1.
Yeah, if there is StarCraft, I think is still huge. I don't watch any of it, but I know that there have been like legendary StarCraft tournaments. So, if there is a particular game that interests you, go check out the competitive scene and go see what it's like. If you are looking for local teams to follow to just kind of see what they do, there's a bunch of them out there. Go shout out to Ground Zero, who I'm very, very lucky to be involved with from time to time. Absolutely love their team. Their CEO, Bo, is incredible. Ground Zero are great. Chiefs up in Sydney are one of the legends of Oceanic esports. They're a huge deal. They're in the same company as Bliss. I don't know if Bliss still run. Fury I think are based in Melbourne. There are incredible teams to go support. So pick a team and go support them and be a fan of what they do, or find a local league that you really love. I know there's a production company in Melbourne called Rekt, REKT, and they're currently running the Rainbow Six Siege X tournament for Oceania. So if you're a fan of Siege, go support Rekt and go check out what your local teams are doing. Whatever you do, just like follow whatever is interesting to you. You might be like me. I used to do Twitch, and now I'm trying to do more stuff on social media that people see more broadly, rather than just like the 5 or 10 people who are watching on Twitch at any given time.
I was watching you on Twitch the other night.
You're so sweet. But I try to create, I want to create more stuff on like Instagram, right? Because it's like much more likely to be seen by people. So that's my next goal. Instagram at Triana OCE if you want to follow my silly gaming adventures. Yapping about whichever tournament is happening in my stories.
We'll include a link, and if you've got any other links you want us to throw in, send them over, and we'll pop them in the show notes.
Absolutely, thank you.
This has been a really, really eye-opening conversation, and you're so passionate about it. I think that's been one of the best things about this. Is just your clear love of this space is really, really comes through. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Appreciate that. Thanks for having me.
Can you do the outro? Can you do it?
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
No.
Do you want to do it with us?
All eyes. I don't know what to say.
Please, jump
So
in.
I'll go, I'm Davey, I'm Jake, I'm Triana, and I'll go, and we are, and then at the same time we all go the Bargain Bin Gamers.
I can say that. That's easy.
Yeah, I know. The hardest bit's remembering my name.
I've been Davey.
I've been Jake.
I will still continue to be Triana.
And we are the Bargain Bin
Gamers.
There we go.
First go. Nailed it.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you give it a big thumbs up on YouTube or follow the podcast wherever you get your podcast from and leave us a 5-star review. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Blue Sky and follow along on our live Twitch streams. You can also continue the conversation in our BQN podcast Discord by clicking the link in the episode description. Don't forget that the Bargain Bin Gamer is part of a larger network of podcasts called the BQN. You can support this and other BQN programs by becoming a patron over at patreon.com/BQN. We'd love to hear your feedback on the episode. Leave us a comment on YouTube or send us an email to bargainbingamer, GAYMER, @gmail.com. Until next time, au revoir.
Double T Media.